Right, welcome back. Today is a big day. We're going to be setting up the Mbuna tank, filling her up and getting it ready and raring to go. So stick around, see how we do it and see how it looks. Right, so let's start off with the obvious, which is the scape. Now, I didn't film myself scaping this because Mbuna tanks they're fairly straightforward to set up. So I think just me showing you how I've done it, I don't think it requires a step-by-step guide in order to show you how to create one of these. But it's a pretty classic look for an Mbuna setup. So I'll walk you through exactly what I've done with this tank. So for the substrate, I've used a mixture of a fine aragonite sand with crushed coral. Now, I know I've said on previous videos that, I'm not a massive fan of the crushed coral aragonite sand, which is not my favourite by any means. However, I think using this type of substrate and hardscape makes it quite different to the peacock tank and the hat tank. So it gives it a little bit of a different colour scheme. It's a little bit brighter, and also with me not having a sump on this system, aragonite, your holy rock, your Marco rock, it gives you a really nice pH buffer in the tank. So it keeps the pH at a nice level for African cichlids. So it's really beneficial in that sense, because I'm going to be using a canister filter on this setup. So having that aragonite in there and the crushed coral is a massive benefit to your water parameters when it comes to African cichlids. As far as the hardscape goes, what I've used is mostly the leftover stuff that I've had from previous saltwater tanks that I've set up. So I used to keep coral reef tanks. So I've got a load of this Marco rock and artificial ceramic rock left over in a box. So I thought it would be good to use it on this scape because it really blends with the substrate well. And it is an excellent choice for building cave structures, which Mbunas are really fond of. So when you're setting up an Mbuna tank, you do want to focus a little bit more on rockscape, making little cave systems for them to go in because they're very territorial fish and they like having little crevices and cracks that they can swim in and out of. Another benefit to Marco rock is it is very porous. So this adds massive surface area to your tank and really helps with biological filtration, which we know is massively important with African cichlids because of how we stock them and how messy they can be. So in all honesty, when you set up a tank like this, we're probably going to have a little bit of an ugly phase on the tank. So I'm going to try and keep the lights off it for a while, just while it matures a little bit. I'm going to use some media from the sump in the canister filter just to help it cycle. But it's really prone to blemishes because it's that white sort of beige coloration. If you get any diatom blooms or algae blooms in the tank early on, it can give you quite a significant ugly phase of the tank. So I'm going to try and keep the lights down to a minimum. Even though it's opposite this tank, I don't have the other tank on all that much as far as lights are concerned. It's only on for a few hours in the evening. So we might get away with it, but I'm expecting, early on diatom blooms on this rock structure because I've used this stuff before and I've never got away with a diatom bloom at the beginning. But as you can see, it all fits together quite nicely. And it looks like quite a natural structure. I've used some of the substrate, as you can see, to fill the little gaps where things weren't looking too natural. And then you can break these rocks up quite easily into smaller pieces to fill in any big gaps and then put your substrate over the top and just add a little bit of super glue on it as well. And it should keep everything in place and looking natural and like one cohesive structure. But I'm really happy with how it looks. Now, I've taken a big risk on this tank And it's something that I've never done before on any tank that I've set up. And I'm quite interested to see how it looks. So I've got a white background on this tank. And it already come on the tank. And it wasn't me being lazy. When I was setting this up, and I've got the LEDs over the top, obviously I'm going to be running some blue LEDs through this. And the white background actually reflects that blue light quite well. So it sort of looks like it's going into the distance. It looks like water. It doesn't look like bright white. If I had white lights on this, it would be completely different. But I'm going to take a risk and leave the white background on it and see how it looks and what sort of effect it has. Because again, it's going to be completely different to the Peacock and Hat tank. So I'm going to get a different contrast in the room, something a little bit different to look at. So I'm excited to see how the white background turns out. But what I need to do is hook up the canister filter. And then there's a couple of holes that I need to drill on the backboard underneath the tank so I can get the hoses through. Once we've got the canister filter in, we can start filling her up. And then we can start going looking shopping for some Mbunas, getting our first inhabitants in here, and getting a real feel for how the tank's going to look further down the line. Right, so the first thing I need to do is drill some holes into the backboard of this this aquarium stand. So I'm going to be using one of these hole cutter drill bits. My advice to you is to remember to cut a square out before you attach this on, because these are an absolute headache. They make a right mess whenever you have to use them. That wasn't too bad actually. That went through quite quick. And then we'll do one at the other end for the inlet and the outlet. So we've got one at each end. There we go, done and dusted. Let's get the canister filter in now. So the canister filter I've gone for this build is the Oase Biomaster. And there's a lot of reasons I've chosen this canister filter. So I've got a video coming up, which I'll probably post next week, just giving a full product review on this canister filter itself. So come and watch that when it gets uploaded, because it's got some great features that I can't really throw all into one video in this video. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this filter and why I've chosen it for this tank in another video. But we'll get it installed, and then we'll get the tank filled up and running and see how it looks. And we're off. The fill up begins. I've got it pressed against the glass a little bit. You don't want to be powering it into the sand. In all honesty, I haven't washed the sand before I've put it in here. Simply because if you've ever done it, you'll never want to do it again. It should, if we don't disturb the sand bed too much while we're filling it up, the filter should clear up the majority of the cloudiness that it produces over the next couple of days. So for the labor-intensive job that it is to clean sand, a lot of the time I don't really bother. And here it is, the end result, and I am absolutely buzzing with it. It looks insane. The LEDs create all these shadows on the cave structures. I really like. I've missed this classic aragonite white stone look, albeit it might not stay that perfect nice white colour. That's the problem with it. It gets easily dirty, and it really shows when it does. But just a brand spanking new one like this, it just looks phenomenal. I'm so happy with it. And I think the Mbunas that go into this display will be really chuffed with it as well. The white background's really worked out with the water in it. There's a couple of bubbles on the back, which is probably going to annoy me a little bit, but I think it'll, once there's a few fish in there, it won't be as obvious. It won't be as distracting. But all in all, I'm really chuffed with that. Really, really mint look. A great contrast in comparison to the other tank as well. So it's not looking dead samey in the room. We've got a little bit more character in the rock structure because we can build it up a little bit for Mbunas. I've left a little bit of swimming space up at the top, so I didn't want to build it up too high and lose some of that swimming space up at the top there. And then I've left a little bit of a gap at the back as well, because the reason I do that is if I ever want to introduce a wave maker into this, or some sort of power head, I can place it at the back or direct it at the back, and what that means is I can blast any detritus that's built up. So you want to be careful when you're building rock walls and you're piling them all up against the back of the glass. A lot of detritus can build up and muck and stuff behind that rock structure, and it can start rotting, and it can be really hard to get out or get in there and clean unless you're changing your rock sculpture around a lot. So I always leave this little gap at the back so it leaves room for flow, and it gives it a bit more, it gives it a bit more dimension on the scape as well. Fish can go behind it and you can see them coming in and out and weaving through everything. But really happy with the end result on this. This tank's got glass lids as well, so glass doors on the top, so I shouldn't suffer too much from evaporation. I've not got the sump on here, so evaporation from the tank and having to top it up all the time, I shouldn't have too much of an issue with it. But honestly, I'm happier with this Mbuna tank than I thought I was ever going to be. It really has blown my mind. So I've not got an idea of what I'm going to stock in here yet. I don't know what types of Mbunas I'm going to get. I don't know whether to get some nice easy ones or get some of your more aggressive ones, but I'm going to start. I've got someone who can put into this tank who's probably going to be very happy to see it and have all this space. I'm going to wait for the temperature to come up a little bit because I've just filled it up. It's going to take a while for the heater to catch up with the tank and get it to where I need it to be. But the first inhabitant of this is going to be my Bucachromis. So the reason he's not in this tank is because he's a little bit small, and I know that he'll get snapped up by some of them predator haps if I put him in here. So I'm going to put him in here, and I think he'll be all right with a couple of Mbuna in there to begin with. I don't plan on introducing loads, but yeah, I'm absolutely blown away by it. I'm really happy with it. I think my missus is going to love it when she comes home and sees this one, because she was a big fan of the substrate and the colour of the stones and stuff. So I think she's going to absolutely love it. The white background has really worked out on this tank. It looks so cool. So yeah, once this is back up to temperature where I need it to be, I'll bring the Bucachromis over, put him into his new home, so you can have a look at him swimming around in here. Because I've not caught him on film all that much because he's been in quite small tanks, so it doesn't make for very good filming. But let's give it a couple of hours. We'll stick him in, and then we'll see how he looks. And here he is. This is my yellow Leptorus, my Bucachromis, in his new home. He's enjoying all the space. He's been cooped up in some small tanks since I got him. But I think he'll be all right while he grows out in here with a few Mbunas in there as well. So I'm planning on getting some Mbunas this weekend. I'm going to go out, do a bit of shopping. I might go and see Spud at Urmston Aquatics because I know he's got a few decent African cichlids in there at the moment. So I'll see what Mbunas he's knocking out. And then I'll make a video of me introducing those into the tank. So if you're enjoying these videos, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. The breeding setup is being built. I just need to get some tanks in downstairs. I've already got the rack set up now. So make sure you subscribe, and if you like the video, give it a like.